if you can go to number 6 on your tabs. Okay, Mr. Ray. Mr. Ray, we have some new technology in front of you here. This system here is the red button. When the red button is on, that means your monitor is on, and you're being recorded. So when it's off, you hit the off button. If the red button is not on, then you're not being recorded. Okay, it's public comment. So if you'll go right ahead, and we certainly appreciate you.
Okay. First of all, this is not included in the budget that you're looking at currently, but they've been passed on to the personnel department as requested. There are several individuals there that are outlined in yellow that it is past time to move them up from customer service representative 2 to customer service representative 3. They've met the requirements as outlined in the job description of both time spent in training, time spent on the job, as well as demonstrated capabilities. And so I'd like to submit that as a part of that. I'm not sure when he's going to be presenting you the personnel, but that's what he has been given. And I'll go ahead and speak to that. Most of the items are pretty much in line with what historically has been the case. This year, the professional services will be moved up due to the new Manatron software package. The contract amount for the standard maintenance is included in MIS's department. However, I have asked for $10,000 for enhancement and additional training. If we do any training outside of what's in that contract, it will be at our expense. And that also includes not only an per hour charge, but also their travel expenses, and if they're required to stay overnight, then we have to obviously pay for the stay in a hotel. So I've included in that's for the unknowns. I've tried to place everything in the contract that we could plan for and know of that's coming down the road. But you never know what may happen, or something that we see that we need to change. The auditors could come in and request additional information, a new format, layout, or whatever, new reports that was not necessarily included in the contract. And that's the biggest change that you see there. Repair and maintenance, that's pretty much so the same budgeted number. That includes any repairs for typewriter, printers, any other miscellaneous equipment that's not included elsewhere. And there's also the consolidated copier service contract in there, and that may need to be amended. I just used the $1,000 previous year's figure, so that may change. The next item that's a significant change is the rental of equipment. The biggest part of that is the copier lease, which I'm assuming will remain the same. I believe that's a 3-year copier thing, so that's $6,120 will remain the same. However, I have included this year $1,950 storage container rental, and that is still an unknown. And what that is, if you remember a few years ago, you saw a little gray tractor trailer storage unit that was out behind my building. Well, that arrived about 6-7 years ago when the state decided to replate, and they sent me 10 pallets of tags, and I had to have it. Well, they're talking about replating in 2012 again. They haven't given us a timeline. They haven't given us how they're going to manage the inventory. But last time they sent me 10 pallets, I obviously don't have enough space in my office for 10 pallets of tags, so we wound up renting that. And of course, that was a whole year's supply of tags. So then it took a year to work down the tags, and then as I removed tags, I began to fill it up full of all paperwork documents. But we've done away with the paperwork with the scanning that we do now. I'm down to no boxes left, and we finally got rid of that container. But that's there as a contingency in case they call me up and say, hey, you got 10 pallets of tags headed to you. We had to get the sheriff over with some of his fine labor to unload all those things because, you didn't have any way to get it in and out of that tractor trailer, so we had to manhandle every one of those boxes of tags, and plus they had to be stacked in there in the proper order. But that's the biggest change, and that's one of those things that the state will manage the inventory and send it to us as we need it this year, then I won't have to get that container. Likewise, in communications, the standard cost is up a little bit due to the cost of postage being up over 2010, and also in anticipation of the cost of postage going up once again during 2012. But the single biggest item that comprises that communication is I have included $30,750 in there for postage. And that's because I can mail you your decal for 44 cents. But if I mail you your tag, it's $2.05. That metal plate, once again. Historically, I mean, it's pretty accurate. We mail out around 15,000 decals a year. Everybody else comes to the office. And I contribute that to us being a small county. It's so easy to get into town and get in and out. We have most people just walk through. Unlike DeKalb County, where 70% of their business is done through the mail and online. And I also like to attribute that to good customer service. It's not a bad experience to come into the office.
They want to come see you.
Yes, they all come see us, talk to us. They all like going to the clerk that they've had the previous year. A lot of times they'll wait in line till that clerk will open up because they'll want to have a little conversation and talk to them and everything. So we're still able to maintain a little bit of a small town atmosphere in the office. But that's another big question. Like I said, I'm not sure the timing of it. They're not sure because they're switching to a new plate design this year. And it's actually going to be like some of the states you've seen. It's going to be a flat plate instead of being embossed. It's all going to be that plastic laminate. And they're actually going to set up the equipment in DOR instead of buying it through the prison industries. They're going to have it actually, 3M is actually going to come into DOR's location and set up the printing equipment right there on hand. So if they manage the inventory like I'm hoping they will, and they'll ship them to us as they make them, then we won't have to have that. But that cost of mailing that tag out is still there for those people who don't normally come to the office. So that's the big $30,000 change right there. Advertising, that's strictly for estimating 15,000 tax sales. 1,500 tax sales at $35 per ad. The travel is up a little bit. I have for the past 2 years foregone my technology training, but I really don't need to do it another year. I need to get to my technology training. I have not attended the last 2 years to save the money. So that's why that is up a little bit for the training for TC Tech. Dues and fees are down a little bit because, thank goodness, the legislature changed the notary cost. I had a couple of them that have to be renewed last year, and it was $169 or something like that to renew those two. Notary. Now they're back to $75, and I've got a couple more people coming up that will need to have theirs renewed. So that's why that actually came down. The training also is, as I said, is up a little bit due to the technology conference I need to go to this year. And let's see, the other purchase services, that's security disposal of documents, the U.S. bankruptcy court web access they charge us. We can monitor our bankruptcies online, which they're still growing, unfortunately. So we've got some real low ones. I'm trying to put some pressure on some folks to get those things cleared up. I got some going way back. They're stretching into 7 or 8 years now. A lot of times they just kind of just wither on the vine unless somebody hollers. I sent out letters the other day requesting some action. General supplies and materials are up a little bit. There's not much of a volume increase in those items, but just the cost of paper and supplies are up. You notice we were able to get paper for $28 a case, and now it's back up over close to $35 a case. So cost of paper is the biggest thing, although we have reduced our printing significantly. That's the biggest reflection of that is just the cost of inflation. Books.
You've gone online with as much of your operations as you can.
Oh yeah, and we scan everything instead of printing it, sticking it in a file. We scan it.
It's cut out a lot of paper.
Yes. The equipment is about the same. Most of all that is for replacements. There's no real enhancements in there, and because everything just wears out. And we try to keep it cycle through, and so we're not in a position of being down at any point in time. Any questions?
Looking at this that you brought in this morning, you fully staffed, Mr. Commissioner?
Mm-hmm.
I noticed you only have you've got this on-call part-time position just kind of sitting there just in case, I guess.
Yes. You get into the flu season and you wind up having 2 or 3 employees out. We've got one employee who's retired from my office, and so she has enough knowledge that I can have her answer the phone and still be knowledgeable enough to answer those questions.
Gotcha.
So that's really what that's for.
And the 6 people you have highlighted, roughly how long they've been with you?
Some have been as long as 5 years.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very fortunate. I have very little turnover. And that's good, because it takes, for a tag and title person, it takes a good year to get them up to about 80% efficiency.
Gotcha.
Then after that, it takes another 3 to 5 years to get them up to what I would say 95% efficiency. There's just that much stuff to learn and relearn and go over. And I never say anybody's at 100% efficiency, because I've got a supervisor that's been there for almost 15 years, and we still have issues come up that she and I will have to sit and talk about, or we'll have to get on the phone and call the state and say, hey, we've got another scenario here that we've never had before. So it's motor vehicles has gotten so complicated, and there's so many things now that you have to watch out for. And with the new House Bill 87, as well as some of the other laws, that they're more and more the identity things that we're having to watch out for. That it comes down that's a benefit, the ability to have your car on the road, that we have to make sure that the people who are driving out there are fully qualified and are legal.
Let me ask you, how did your department interface with, let's say, our sheriff's department or City of Conyers police officers to encourage people to get their tags within 30 days, the change of county or residency tag?
Well, one of the initiatives that we're doing right now with the sheriff, since he's the one that actually serves the warrants, if he goes out to a house and it's vacant, he writes up a report that we design and sends it over to us, and we look it up and see if they're getting homestead there, for one thing, and then see about if there are any cars. We also have a program with the school system. If they see cars coming in on a repetitive time that have out-of-county tags, they report it to me, and we look and see if it's just a matter they didn't change the decal on the back of their car, and the car is actually registered here in Rockdale County, or if it's an out-of-county registration, then we start looking around and see where that car really is living.
So the law states you have 30 days, is that correct?
Yes.
Not just to change your license, but also to have the new
Tag and license
county
and
that you
everything.
reside.
Of course, when you come into my office, the first thing we require is driver's license, because my records are closed records, and the law commands that I know the person to whom I'm to give that tag to, or is the one who's supposed to be receiving the tag. So the first thing you'll hear my staff ask for is, let me see your driver's license, because the law requires you have a Georgia driver's license or a Georgia ID. But you're absolutely right. We are doing also audits on homesteads and looking, and that's what we're doing, is comparing homesteads to see if there are any cars registered there. And if those cars are registered, are they the owner's cars or are they a lease? Because we're coming across people that are not necessarily being truthful with us as far as claiming homestead, and they're really not living there. They may be renting the house out. The house may have been foreclosed down now. It's vacant. We work very close with the water department. They've given us access to the inquiry screen so we can look and see whose name is the water in. And if we see that it's, and they'll usually mark it, if it's a lease or tenant, they'll mark it in their notes, and we go, whoa, wait a minute, if there's somebody renting this house, why are we getting homestead? So then we report that over to Lamar in the assessor's office for them to do an investigation.
And tell us what the penalty is for those people that either are using homestead exemption and don't deserve it.
Of course, the initial thing is we remove the current homestead. We're looking at the way the law reads, but it's not real clear as to who is the one who administers the penalty. The penalty can be twice the tax that was due, as if you remove the homestead, it's double the tax, less what they paid. So it can be a pretty severe.
Well, I hope we would move to that, because I know that's been a concern in the past. And I know that we've had fewer homestead exemptions, and that's probably why our host exemption is moving to 82%, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we had a little increase of about $500,000. That helped, and then as the values go down, you need less hosts,
right.
And we had a little increase in the income and a little drop in the number of actually homesteaded homes also. So some of that has worked in our favor.
Okay.
Commissioner, you mentioned when a resident or a customer comes in the event that they don't have a current, not necessarily invalid, but a current up-to-date driver's license, if they moved in from another county, but if they've been with us beyond the 30 days and they've not went over to the DMV and what happens? Do you all continue the process, or y'all stop it right there and say, go get your license?
I'm very fortunate. We've got the DDS within about 4 or 5 miles of the office. So I am pretty hard-nosed about, if you're a resident of Rockdale County, go get your driver's license changed to reflect the residency.
Okay.
And then we'll get your cars registered, and that gets in. And for the people who won't obey the law and do the right thing, they might kind of grumble a little bit, but it's such a fast operation now over DDS. When they come back, they're actually happy. I mean, it's like the good Lord says, you lifted that burden off my shoulders, because they've been riding around looking out the corner of the eye for the sheriff or the city police, because they know if they get stopped, they're going to get hassled.
Right.
But when they come back, they now have their car tag done in Rockdale County. They now have their driver's license done in Rockdale County, and they're not going to get hassled or haggled no matter where they go. And even if you go in and write a check, so the sports authority is something, you start getting haggled when your driver's license doesn't match up the address on your check. People just get a little.
Last question. What happens when you have a resident that comes in and perhaps they own a property here in Rockdale County and a property somewhere else in another county within the state, but the driver's license matches Savannah, Georgia?
There to get it changed to Rockdale. If you're declaring Rockdale County, you're basically, when you're registering your vehicle, you're declaring an oath that I swear that I am a resident of this county. So therefore, go get your driver's license changed, and I'll be glad to register your car here.
Because they cannot do homestead in both places.
Correct. Correct.
They've got to make a decision.
Correct. And so it really all starts with the driver's license. And even when they go to apply for homestead, Lamar and them are asking for that Georgia driver's license with their Rockdale County address. Also just had a conversation with Dr. King just this past week discussing that same issue. When a parent or guardian comes in to register a child, one of the first things they really should be asking for is the Georgia driver's license with the Rockdale County address on it. And if they don't have it, say you got to go get it. And if they refuse to go get it, say fine. We're going to charge you out-of-county fees until you go and get your driver. And the second thing they ask for is your Rockdale County motor vehicle registration. They already do that now for the decals, for the parking permits for the juniors and seniors at the high schools. You got to have a Rockdale County registration in order to get that parking permit, and that's something I started with Dr. Pecia back 10 years ago when my girls were going over there, and I saw all these out-of-county cars parked over there in the student parking lot. And I complained to him, and I said, go walk the parking lots of the 3 high schools to see what you see. He called me back about 3 days later and said, you're right, Mr. Ray, it's full of out-of-county tags. I said, what can we do about it? I said, don't give them a parking permit if they don't have a Rockdale County tag and registration. And they do that now, so that's helped eliminate a lot of that. But
they don't require the driver's license to be Rockdale or the motor vehicle registration to be presented when registering. At this time, they don't do that.
Right. That's one of the things they can present, but they're not a requirement. So I taught him about it and then put it in writing to him that they may modify their policy to reflect that request. And if people refuse to do it, then fine, you can come to Rockdale because the court's approved. You got to educate that child and say fine. If you're not willing to prove your residency to our satisfaction, we'll just charge you the out-of-county fee. You can bring all the kids over you want to, but it's going to cost you $5,000-$6,000 in addition, in tuition to do it. So he said he was going to take that into consideration and run that through the staff.
And just keep it in mind with that too, because the school system may be a totally different ballgame when you think about a family transitioning into Rockdale County from another state or into the country, especially if they're military or something like that. It may take a little longer than going over to
the military is exempt. The military guy himself doesn't have to change his driver's license. Now, if he brings his family with him, then his wife then, of course, gains resident status. So she will eventually have to get her driver's license changed, but the military officer himself does not. That's specifically excluded in the Georgia law.
And then, Commissioner, so Dan, I'm going to beat this horse all day long and all tomorrow about this, how the state continues to push these mandates on counties and city governments, which forces the counties and cities to make these decisions on the budget processes. The extra $60,000 and $65,000 is a direct result of a state push down to the counties and cities. Am I correct in saying that?
On the tag issue.
$30,750. Yeah.
Well, it's 30 plus what the container. But the thing.
Plus postage.
Well, the postage you can't really complain about because we get $1 for every tag, every decal we mail out as a mail fee. But it's only, it's costing us 44 cents plus the cost of an envelope and a little bit of labor. But that will be their reply back to you, and they're going to say, well, what have you been doing with that 50 cents over the past 7 or 8 years? You should have been banking that because we, by law, are supposed to replace the plates every 5 years. Okay. So they'll throw that back at you because we did.
But in all fairness, we're providing the labor to issue it.
Oh, no, that you will not get any argument out of me because out of every tag we get $1 commission.
And
they get, out of the $20, they get $19, we get $1 to provide all this labor. And when you do a title, which is where the most work is because we have to do all the encoding and the title work, we only make 50 cents off of that deal. That's what I collect out of each title. They charge $18, we get 50 cents, and I remit that back to Ross.
So that's a General Assembly issue.
Yes, ma'am, and we have griped and grumbled about that for at least 15 years, ever since I began to get active with the Tax Commissioners Association, because I've done some preliminary time studies in my office. Gwinnett County did one, I think DeKalb did one, a couple of the other smaller counties, and it was amazing. We all did it independent of each other, and we all came up with a number within plus or minus 50 cents, and the average cost of a transaction is about $5. So we should really be making $5 off every transaction, whether it be a title or a tag. It's really costing the county around $5 per transaction to produce that title or to produce that tag, and we get that finish of $1.50.
Thanks, Dan.
We have been preaching that one, and ACCG is aware of it too, because they've been preaching it with us too.
So we'll continue to support that, Dan. But I just want to continue to lift that because that $5 I'm only getting a small portion.
Well, I'm headed to Savannah. I'm hoping that the new revenue commissioner will be down there, and we will certainly point that out to him once the new guy started.
Who is the new revenue commissioner?
Doug McGinney. And we've had
Doug McGinney.
and it has been a breath of fresh air. The previous commissioner was very hostile toward the tax commissioners. We've got a whole new attitude at DOR, one that's very cooperative, very supportive, and it's getting back to the way it was 10 years ago.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just wonderful.